Hey everyone, it's Ivan, keepagile.com, out here for another course review, and today I'm talking about the 3-day night vision course at Thunder Ranch, specifically day 1. Some of you are probably like, night vision and Thunder Ranch. Like, didn't Clint Smith fight in Vietnam? Yes, national treasure, definitely getting up there in age, probably not subject matter expert in night vision. But out there on day 1, started with none other than the legend Clint Smith, out there giving kind of the introduction and rundown on Thunder Ranch, as well as the safety brief.
You already know I'm a dick about safety. Safety is hard to enforce in the dark. That means I need for you to be here, I need for you to be focused, I need for you to pay attention to what the hell is going on.
After that, he ended up turning it over to Jack. Incredibly talented guy, spent his entire career of about 20 years at this point in law enforcement, very knowledgeable. And Jack started to kind of break down what the class was going to be about and everything it entailed.
Take your visual perception out of things and you start manipulating things that you cannot see. It changes things tremendously. So you go from a great big effing scientific field of view down to a 40-degree field of view, and it changes things. So the way that you move, the way that you walk, the way that you manipulate your head and stuff changes, right? Because now you're carrying a bunch of other gear, carrying a rifle, you're carrying kit, all that stuff. One
thing that I think was pretty valuable too is basically a gear rundown. Jack kind of broke down a bunch of his gear, like first line gear, different things to include different rifle setups and kind of pros and cons, like things to think about, considerations on different ways guns are set up. And then we actually went through all the students' gear. Basically a chance to, again, kind of look and see what people had, whether it was different optics or laser setups, guns themselves. Just different setups and being able to kind of work through that line, seeing what everyone had brought out there to the class.
Or a suppressor cover over, which also retains the heat. Unity tactical mount, Unity tactical freaking magnifier mount, which is rock solid. It stays out of the way and pulls straight up instead of flopping over the side. Light, right? Okay. This IR laser illuminator. It has a flashlight laser, right? IR flashlight. Non-mall things is always back is going to be vis laser, right? Usually the 9 o'clock is going to be. What I do like about this is it has a button just like the PEC 15 or the LA5. So I can come up, I got a big fire button right there I can get with either hand, which is cool. And then I have this for the constant on mode. Just beware that if that gets pulled out or whatever happens, then I don't have any way to activate my white light IR mode. And this is a IR laser as well, or illuminator?
No illuminator.
Okay, so let's talk about this really quick, guys. So we've got an IR laser, but no IR illuminator. So then he had to add an IR light, right? So is this slaved together somehow, where you can touch the laser and have the light fire at the same time?
No.
Okay. So in order for him to do stuff, and I'm not picking on you at all, because this is like most stuff in the world. He's got to turn this on for the laser, and then he's got to do something separate to activate the IR illuminator, which is okay-ish, somewhat anemic, and we'll see how it works in the smoke and the distance, because we're going to try to stretch these guys out.
Next went into kind of a little block on zeroing lasers. When it comes to zeroing a laser, whether it's a visible laser or IR laser for shooting under night vision, there's no free lunch. There's pros and cons with all of them, whether it's converging zero, parallel zero, all these different things. And so basically a little block of instruction on the pros and cons of those. And then after that, we had a chance to go actually zero our lasers. Again, having that knowledge, kind of that baseline, so that moving forward, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to use this type of zero because this is my paradigm. Like, I'm looking at engaging things at like 50 yards in it, whatever it may be. And so after we kind of had that little rundown, went over and got our lasers zeroed. Then we went into some shooting, basically working up drills. And something that is definitely important, whether it's with an optic or a laser, is your offset, especially trying to make a low probability shot. in relatively close distances. So basically doing some up drills, both with visible laser as well as optic, and kind of switching back and forth, getting a lot of really good reps in and making sure there is that accuracy standard.
Top slice, 3 rounds, red dot. Top slice, 3 rounds, red dot. Stand by. Up. Bottom slice, laser, 3 rounds. Stand by. Up.
Something else that was stressed was sling use and manipulation. A lot of people will throw a sling on their gun because the internet said you should have a sling on your gun. But when it comes to actual sling use and manipulation, especially being able to do it at night in the dark, it gets really important. And basically different configurations as far as where attachment points you want to put your sling. And yeah, again, no free lunch with any of that. There's pros and cons to all of it. But then essentially running through how to manipulate your sling and how to get into it and out of it. I was using this gun in this configuration right here with this Sierra Tac padded sling, and yeah, basically getting some good reps in. Then for no other reason than to create kind of a baseline for appreciation, ended up doing some ball drills. Basically just throwing a ball back and forth, whether it's a tennis ball or a football. Eventually added a little bit of movement into it, and you're like, okay, cool, like this is totally doable. And of course, that was gonna play back in later in the day. Going kind of crawl, walk, run while it was still daylight, bringing nods down, and while they were basically obstructing your vision because you weren't looking through them at this point, basically working through manipulations, trying to get that base level of competence and confidence, manipulating your gear even when you can't necessarily see it, because once it gets dark, even when nods on, you're really not looking at stuff right in front of your face. Like it's difficult. You probably don't have your focus set to it. So getting some good reps in during the day with the nods down. And getting more reps running that laser. For that, I was using this right here, which is the XVL2 IRC, which is a green visible as well as IR laser, as well as a visible light and IR illuminator. So being able to activate that and get those good hits, basically once you've learned your offset, again, counting for all those rounds you're sending down range. Another thing that was stressed was manipulating, conducting reloads, things like that without looking. Knowing that once it gets dark, knots come down, you're not going to be able to. So being able to just work through those manipulations without having to look down at your gun. And finally, transitioning to darkness. Basically took that time to break, eat lunch, or in this case dinner, and then after that, kind of mobility appreciation. Went for a little nature walk. Nothing crazy, but with nods on, basically started out and yeah, just trying to figure out how to actually move through uneven terrain. Largely, again, nothing crazy, mainly stuck to some paths and stuff like that, but just being able to, one, safely carry your weapon and safely negotiate different terrain in darkness with whatever you had, whether it was a PVS-14, dual tubes, whatever it may be, and basically make our way through. Probably ended up walking, I don't know, like mile, 2 miles, something like that. Just kind of weaving our way out and around. And then something that was easy during hours of daylight got really difficult. Throwing those balls back and forth to include incorporating movement becomes really, really difficult. You don't have that depth perception anymore. So people that were of the benefit of dual tubes. You could basically crank one to your focus being kind of right out in front of you, which definitely would help a lot. But yeah, definitely challenging doing that, especially having done it and be like, oh yeah, this is easy during the day, and then throw nods on, like, not as easy. We ended up finishing out that day doing some shooting. Again, running through some drills, kind of up drills, and incorporating some moving too. So basically facing movements, whether you're facing to the left or to the right, or even facing uprange, and being able to safely turn, bring your weapon to bear, and get those good hits. Again, maintaining your offset with your laser. Really good overall. That kind of wrapped up day one right there. One thing I will say that was stressed both on day one as well as kind of throughout the entire course was, why are you there? And it was posed kind of as a question, in that the likelihood of getting into an engagement as a civilian with night vision probably isn't that high. But we're also at a point where, I don't know, a couple years ago you would have said, oh, if I call the cops, of course they're going to come. Maybe that's not the case. 2020, 2021.
That being said, the purpose of this course for everybody is going to be different, right? All of you have a different reason for being here. From, hey man, I live out in the backwoods and I get people coming through because they're raiding marijuana grows or whatever the case may be, and I need to be able to protect my property. Or I got a bunch of disposable income and I just want to walk around in the dark because it's cool and I see it on TV, right? And so if that's you, that's awesome.
And so, again, this wasn't set up as a, hey, like, we're going to teach you to be an operator, but hey, like, we're going to teach you how to use night vision under a bunch of different settings and a bunch of different conditions. And it was left kind of open-ended. And the question was posed a number of times, like, why are you doing this? Whether you're there just for fun, maybe it dovetails with your work if you're LE, law enforcement, something like that. Or maybe these skills might be needed because the world's an uncertain place. But that right there wraps up day one. Join me as we continue the journey on through day two of the 3-day night vision course with Thunder Ranch. And as always, thanks for joining us at kitbadger.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.
I think in today's world, if you fucking shot someone in your house with a suppressed legal rifle with your night vision on, I think that will be an epic shit show when we go to court. But I'm being honest with you, okay?